Welcome everybody to the first part of our 6-week tutorial series where you're going to build a production-ready version of the intercom support chat. And we're calling this tool Freecom, right here. Alright, so in today's lesson we're actually only going to talk about the data model and how you can obtain your own GraphQL server. So we're not going to write any code. That is saved for the next couple of weeks. Let's go ahead and start by inspecting the data model. So I've prepared the data model in a file so that we can take a look. This is what it looks like. At the core of the data model, we've got the conversation type, and a conversation has a one-to-many relationship to the message type. So this icon indicates that we have a one-to-many relationship. And basically this means that one conversation is related to many messages, or can be related to many messages. But on the other hand, every message can only ever be related to one conversation. Then we've got the customer and the agent types. And the customer type as well as the agent type are also associated with the conversation through a one-to-many relationship each. Which means that a customer can have many conversations, an agent can have many conversations, but one conversation can only ever have one customer and one agent. But then we also see that we have a relationship between the agent and the message type. And the reason for that is because the agent can change in a conversation. So the fact that an agent can change in a conversation would have as a result that we cannot trace who the author or who sent a particular message if the agent changed in a conversation, because we can never know who was the agent who sent that particular message. So in order to be sure which agent sent which message, we have to create an additional relationship between the agent and the message. And that's what we're doing here. So this is the high-level overview of our data model. Let's now take a look at it in more detail by analyzing the schema. So here's what the schema looks like. And again, we see our 4 types that we already saw in the diagram. We've got the customer type, and here we also see that the customer also has a name. And that name will be randomly generated right in the beginning when we create that customer. For the agent, we're using the information that we're getting from Slack to create the identity of that agent. So we're using the Slack user ID and the Slack username. And then we also grab the image URL that can be used to display the profile picture of that agent to create a bit more personalized experience for the customer when they're chatting with the agent. And then we have the conversation type, where we have a field that is called Slack channel index. And that Slack channel index is actually used to generate the name for the Slack channel where that conversation is going to take place. So the name for the Slack channel where a conversation takes place is composed by the name of the customer. And we can know the name of the customer because the conversation is related to a customer. And then the Slack channel index. So for example, if we have a customer that is called Cool Tomato and the Slack channel index would be 5, then the name of the Slack channel where the conversation is taking place would be Cool Tomato 5, and it would mean that this is the 5th conversation that the Cool Tomato customer initiated. And then finally, we've got the message type, where we have the text property right here that indicates the contents of the message. And then also, as we saw before, a message has a relation to the agent type and to the conversation. All right, so let's now use this schema to generate our own GraphQL server. And the way how we're going to do this is by using the GraphCool command line interface. For that, I'm just going to type the GraphCool create command into the terminal, and I'm passing the schema as an argument. I hit enter, and this is going to create my own GraphQL API, but before I'm asked to authenticate with the GraphCool platform. Since I am already authenticated, I can just navigate back to the browser and wait until my server and my GraphQL API have been generated. So I'm getting 2 endpoints. In this tutorial, we're only interested in the endpoint for the simple API. You can use the endpoint for the Relay API if you want to use the Relay GraphQL client that is developed by Facebook. But today we're going to use the endpoint for the simple API. And for now, because we're not writing any code today, I just want to demonstrate to you the capabilities of the API that we just generated or that we just received. So I'm pasting the URL for the simple API into the address bar of my browser, which is going to open up a GraphQL playground. And a GraphQL playground is an interactive environment that lets you explore the capabilities of your API. So in that particular case, I want to ask for all the customers that we currently have in the database. So the query that I have to send will be the all customers query. And then I can specify the payload. What is the information that I want to receive for each customer? So here it's the ID and the name. I can hit Command Enter to send the query. And the result of this server is simply an empty array. And that's quite logical because we actually haven't added any data to our database so far. So let's change that and write our first mutation in the playground. We're using the create customer mutation, and we're creating the cool tomato user. And then we also have to specify the payload. I just want to have the ID of the new customer returned, hit Command Enter again, send the mutation, and we see that it has been successfully performed. So if we navigate back now to the all customers query and send that one again, we'll actually get the information about the customer that we just created. All right, that is it for today. I hope you enjoyed this lesson and learning about how you can obtain your own GraphQL backend. And in the next week, we're going to start writing some code. We are getting started with our React components and integrating the Apollo client, making our first queries and mutations from the application, and see how we can manage the data inside our app. All right, I'm looking forward to see you soon again.